This is a tiny bench.
This is a tiny bench. Jonathan Levitt, For the Long Run podcast, InsideTracker, jack of all trades, friend of everybody in the outdoor industry. How the heck are you, Jonathan?
I'm good. It's beautiful here in Boulder. Went for a run in Denver this morning, which is something I don't often do. Steph Howe was in town, so It was a nice run. And these days it's like 50 in the morning and 80 in the afternoon, so how do you beat that?
It was 32 when I left my house this morning and up in
Twice the
Fairboy.
elevation.
So it's a little nicer here. So,
Yep.
Well, welcome to the Tiny Bench. We're at your house up in Boulder, like you said. Thanks for taking the time. So jumping right in, you recently tried a 5-minute mile. I love the idea of setting big, audacious goals, just going for something totally different for you.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that project, why you did it, what happened, and what are you thinking now?
Yeah, so this happened as sort of like a joke because I had a partnership with Puma, or have a partnership with Puma, and I was doing a bunch of 5Ks, and I was like, could you guys send me like a fast shoe? And they're like, how fast are we talking? And I said, as fast as is legal. And it's like a topical joke now with the $500 Adidas shoe. Anyway, they're like, well, we have this shoe that you could run a mile in. I was like, well, I've never run 5 minutes in the mile. Maybe like include that too, and we can do it. And so it ultimately turned into the podcast sponsoring Mile High Mile, and we created a Breaking 5 wave. And so we had a bunch of people that were aspiring to break 5. My PR was 5:06, and that was like a few years ago.
Yeah.
So trained for it in like a little 6-week block after doing Broken Arrow. Originally I was doing like 2 workouts a week. The Thursday was 8 by 30 seconds at mile pace, and initially that was like a sprint effort, and 6 weeks later it was still like marginally slower effort than a sprint. How did it go? We went out at 69 in the first lap, which was not nice. And it was something like 4:34 pace for the first couple hundred meters. We went out too fast.
A little hot. And
I like crashed and burned by like 250 in. And I was like, this is really hard, like much harder than I thought. And so I had like 40 friends there, like spectating. And so I was like, I can't be last in my own heat. I can't like blow this so badly. So it like really kept me going in lap 3 and 4. And in lap 3, it was like acutely the most pain I've ever experienced running. I've run a bunch of marathons. I've done rim to rim to rim. And like, it was like, holy crap. And I ran 5:22. I hit the deck so hard at the end that my watch triggered an accident alert because I went from 14 miles an hour to 0
Dead
immediately.
Stop.
And then later in the week, I was in Boston. I ran 5 flat. So
so you got a little redemption. So is that still a bucket list item?
I don't know. It was like the kind of thing that I really enjoyed, like putting it out there and sharing the journey. And we created this super cool video from it. My buddy Tony, who is Tony with a Sony on Instagram. And yeah, it was fun. Maybe I'll come back to it, but it was really cool to like do something so wildly different and so wildly public, and get really close.
Yeah, that's such a cool. I love those kind of outside of your wheelhouse, right? You've been doing longer stuff, marathon. You just did Broken Arrow, and then you just went for it. That's so cool. I love that.
It was fun.
All right, total shift in topics. InsideTracker.
Yep.
Tell us, one, a little bit what you do with InsideTracker, and two, the big question I have for you is, what is the most underrated lab value for a runner to look at?
Okay, so what is InsideTracker? InsideTracker is all about helping people live healthier longer. We look at blood, DNA, and wearable data to understand the impact of the decisions you're making on a daily basis, and how do you tweak your routine to live healthier longer. So these things we do with running or weight training or whatever, assume you want to do it forever. And so our guidance helps to narrow the gap between health span and lifespan. So the average lifespan is 79 years, average health span is about 60. So that's where you stop feeling good and start declining. So we want to push that 60 to closer to 70 and beyond. Anyway, the most valuable, most underrated biomarker for runners. Okay, vitamin D and iron are like the obvious ones. RBC Magnesium is, so magnesium is related to sleep and muscle repair, and a shocking amount of people have low levels of magnesium, and so it's impacting their sleep quality, which impacts their recovery, which impacts their readiness and ability to get out there and continue to get after it.
Yeah.
But you always hear about vitamin D and testosterone and ferritin or iron, but RBC Magnesium is
a good one. Yeah. I mean, like you said, iron and vitamin D and testosterone. Everybody talks about those. You see that, and it's not right.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh, but yeah, that's a great one.
Dark leafy greens and dark chocolate.
Now I need to go back and look at my last results.
I bet it's low.
I didn't even take a look at it because I overlooked it. All right, so we talked your mile. We talked InsideTracker. I always want to end with your bucket list. You do so many things, and I love that you're always willing to adapt and just try something. So what is on your bucket list, and what's going to motivate you to get through that?
So I want to run 100 miles one day. You've done this many times, sometimes in one day. I imagine mine will actually take 2 days, but I know so many people that do it, and I've participated in crewing and pacing, and the experience of pacing a 100-miler is so cool. And just simply being at the race is super cool. And I want to be on the other side and see, like, I saw what I was made of in lap 3 of that mile, but I knew, I was like, okay, in 4-ish minutes, in 3-ish minutes, this like brutal pain will be over.
Yep.
And I'll cough for the next 24 hours, but then I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And it's like over like that. The 100 miles is not like that. And there's a lot of persisting. There's a lot of I have a podcast that is intended to explore what happens in that moment.
Yeah.
Because I'm so fascinated by where your mind goes, right? And so when you're on a treadmill for 12 hours, or when you're on the road or the trails for 24, 30 hours, how do you keep moving forward, and then how do you take that and use it in life?
I always use the analogy for 100 miles versus a mile or 5K. It's like, would you rather be punched in the face once by Mike Tyson?
Yeah.
Or would you rather me punch you in the shoulder for an hour or 2?
Yeah. This guy's probably like, what's going on?
Yeah, we have some running traffic here by us as we go by. Well, Jon, as we leave, where can people find you? And where do we find you?
I'm often in my sauna in the backyard here, and then I'm also on social at JW Levitt, and the podcast is For the Long Run.
Awesome. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for coming on the Tiny Bench.
Yeah, thanks for having me.